The shift you're seeing isn't them leaving, it's them arriving. And if you walk away now, you will spend the next decade wondering why love kept showing up in a language you refused to learn. Listen, I've sat across from 5 million human beings, presidents, athletes, single mothers working 2 jobs, kids who grew up in houses where the only sound was the television at 2 in the morning. And I will tell you the one pattern that breaks more hearts than betrayal, more hearts than poverty, more hearts than failure. It's misreading the person in front of you, assigning a meaning to their behavior that was never the meaning, calling their silence abandonment, calling their stillness indifference, calling their retreat a verdict on your worth, and then walking. Walking because the story you told yourself felt more real than the human standing 3 feet away, terrified, trying to hand you something they don't have words for. Now let me be honest with you. I grew up in a house where love was not spoken. It was not performed. It was not narrated over dinner with soft music in the background. My old man worked. My mother worked. And the distance between people in that house was not cruelty. It was survival. It was the architecture of a family trying not to drown. And for years I carried a story that said, you were not enough for them to be warm. You were not enough for them to turn around and say, I see you, son. And that story ran my life. That story chose my fuel. That story made me angry in a way I couldn't name until I was well into my 20s. And here's the truth. They loved me. They loved me in the only dialect their own childhoods taught them. And I nearly missed it. I nearly walked away from the only people who ever had my back because I was waiting for a performance they were never trained to give. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you, right now listening to this, might be standing at the exact same fork in the road. You're watching someone you love pull back. You're watching them go quiet. You're watching them cancel plans, shorten their texts, disappear into work or into their own head for 3 days. And your nervous system lights up like a fire alarm and says, they don't want you. They're done. They're proving what you always feared, that you are too much, that you are not enough, that love is a thing people do for a while, and then quietly set down like a book they lost interest in. And you get ready to walk. You get ready to protect yourself by leaving first, by deciding for them, by closing the door before they can close it. But here's the thing. What if the withdrawal is not the end? What if the withdrawal is the beginning? What if the person you love, the one who goes quiet, the one who seems to need air the way you need closeness, what if their pulling back is not rejection, but the only way they know how to stay? Because here's what I know. Jung called it the shadow. The part of us we hide not because we're ashamed of it in some moral sense, but because we learned early that showing it got us hurt. The avoidant person, the one who loves you, but can't stay close without feeling like they're dissolving. That person built a fortress when they were 7 or 9 or 12. Someone left. Someone was inconsistent. Someone said, come here, and then pushed them away. And the child made a decision, not a conscious one. A survival one. I will not need them. I will not reach. I will be self-contained. I will be enough alone. And that decision saved them. That decision got them through the nights when no one was coming. And now they're 30, 40, 50, and they love you. And that same architecture, that same fortress, is the only house they know how to live in. And when they pull back, they're not leaving you. They're going back to the only room where they feel safe enough to feel anything at all. It's not rejection, it's regulation. It's not indifference, it's terror. It's not that they don't love you. It's that loving you is the most dangerous thing they've ever done, and they have to step back to remember they can survive it. And I want you to see this. There's 3 decisions you make every moment of your life. 3. Not 5, not 10. 3. And if you understand these 3, you understand why you're suffering, and you understand why they're pulling away, and you understand what to do about it. The first decision is what you focus on. The second decision is what the thing you're focused on means. The third decision is what you're going to do about it. That's it. Every single moment, you focus on something, you assign meaning, you act. And most people never realize they're doing it. Most people think the meaning is in the event. They think they didn't text back. That means they don't care. They think they went quiet on a Friday night. That means I'm being replaced. They think they said they need space. That means I'm being discarded. But the meaning is not in the event. The meaning is in you. You are the meaning maker. And if you make the meaning that their silence equals your unworthiness, you will feel abandoned no matter how many times they come back. You will feel alone in a room full of people who adore you. Because focus is the master key. Focus is the lens. Focus determines everything. You don't experience life. You experience the life you focus on. Let me say that again. You don't experience their love. You experience the story you tell yourself about their love. And if your story is, they're pulling away because I'm too much, then no amount of evidence to the contrary will land. You will delete every kind word. You will distort every small gesture. You will focus on the one night they were quiet and delete the 40 nights they showed up. And Jung would say, that's not perception, that's projection. You're projecting your oldest wound onto the person in front of you and then reacting to the projection as if it were them. Now listen to me carefully. I'm not saying you should tolerate cruelty. I'm not saying you should tolerate being strung along, being lied to, being treated like an option. There are immutables in any relationship. Respect, honesty, effort, those are non-negotiable. And if those are absent, you walk. You walk with love, but you walk. But what I'm talking about here is different. What I'm talking about is the person who shows up, who tries, who loves you in a language that doesn't look like yours, and you keep waiting for them to speak yours before you believe them. And they never will, because their language was forged in a fire you weren't in. And demanding they speak yours is like demanding a person who grew up in the ocean walk comfortably in the desert. They can learn, they can adapt, but their first instinct will always be water. So what's behind the story you're telling yourself? It's your state, your emotional state, your nervous system, which learned at 4 or 6 or 9, that closeness is followed by loss, that the people who hold you will eventually set you down, that the safest strategy is to need no one. And when the avoidant person in your life mirrors that old wound by pulling back, your state hijacks your focus. You stop seeing them. You start seeing your history. You stop seeing the person trying to love you in the only way they know. You start seeing the parent who left, the friend who disappeared, the partner who said forever and meant 6 months. And you react to the ghost, not the human. Here's the truth. The shift you're seeing in them, the one that frightens you, the one where they go quieter, where they seem to need more space, where they stop performing the version of love you need in order to feel safe, that shift is not them falling out of love. That shift is them falling into love, real love, the kind that doesn't perform, the kind that doesn't narrate itself, the kind that goes quiet because it's too big for words and too terrifying to hold at arm's length. They're not retreating from you. They're retreating into the only space where they can feel the full weight of what you mean to them without collapsing. And if you walk now, you walk away from the very moment they were learning to trust you with the unperformed, unpolished, terrified truth of their heart. And I know I'm right about this, because I've seen it. I've seen it in rooms with thousands of people. I've seen the person who pulls away come back 3 days later with a sentence they've been rehearsing for 72 hours. I've seen the person who goes quiet show up with an action so small you'd miss it if you weren't looking. A meal made. A text that says nothing but their name and yours. A hand on your back in a crowd. And they can't say, I love you, in the way you need to hear it. But they can say it in the way they can survive saying it. And you get to decide whether that's enough. Not whether it's perfect, whether it's enough. You want to know why? Because perfection in love is a myth sold to people who are afraid of the real thing. The real thing is messy. The real thing is 2 broken architectures trying to build a bridge between 2 fortresses. The real thing is saying, I don't know how to do this, but I'm not leaving. And the avoidant person, the one who learned that leaving is what people do, the one who built their whole identity around not needing anyone, when they stay, when they come back after the silence, when they choose you in the small, unglamorous, unphotographable moments of a Tuesday evening, that is the bravest thing they will ever do. Braver than any grand gesture, braver than any speech, because staying for them is walking into the fire they spent a lifetime building walls against. It's like, imagine a lighthouse. You know what a lighthouse does? It goes dark, then it shines. Then it goes dark, then it shines. And if you're a sailor and you only see the dark, and you say, well, I guess there's no lighthouse, I guess I'll steer by my own fear tonight, you will crash. Not because the lighthouse isn't there, because you couldn't tolerate the dark interval between the beams. The dark interval is not the absence of light. It's the mechanism of the light. The lighthouse must go dark to shine again. And the avoidant person in your life must withdraw to return, must go quiet to speak, must disappear into themselves to come back with anything real. If you only love them in the shining, you don't love them. You love the performance, and they can feel the difference. They have always felt the difference. And the performance is what killed them as children. The expectation that they be on, be warm, be available, be legible, or else. And you are not the or else, unless you choose to be. But that's not the real point. The real point is what you do in the next 24 hours. Because understanding this intellectually will not save you. You can know every word I've said tonight and still pick up your phone tomorrow and send the text that says, I guess you don't want to talk to me, so I'll just go. And that text will not come from your wisdom. It will come from your state. From the 4-year-old in you who decided that silence means abandonment. And that 4-year-old deserves compassion. But they don't get to drive the car. Not anymore. Not if you want the life you actually want. So here's the drill. And I mean, this is non-negotiable. Tomorrow, within 24 hours, when you feel the pull to chase, or the pull to flee, or the pull to send the pointed message, or the pull to go cold in return, you stop. 90 seconds. You put your phone down, you put both feet flat on the floor, you take 3 breaths slow into your belly, not your chest, and you say out loud, not in your head, out loud, I am not in danger. They are not leaving. I can tolerate this feeling without acting on it. 90 seconds. That's all. You don't have to solve it. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to make them talk. You just have to survive your own nervous system for 90 seconds without letting it choose your next action. And in those 90 seconds, you shift your focus. You focus on one thing they did this week that showed up. One small thing, one Tuesday evening, one text, one glance, and you let that be the evidence instead of the silence. You let the presence be the data instead of the absence. And you let the meaning be what you choose it to be, not what your oldest wound insists it must be. Now, what does that mean to you? It means you stop outsourcing your emotional stability to someone else's behavior. It means you become the meaning maker of your own life. It means you decide consciously, deliberately what their silence means. And you get to decide it means they're processing. You get to decide it means they're scared. You get to decide it means they love you so much they don't know what to do with it. And they're going quiet because the alternative is falling apart in front of you, and they're not ready for that yet. You get to decide that. And when you decide that, your state changes. And when your state changes, your behavior changes. And when your behavior changes, you don't send the text. You don't go cold. You don't walk. You wait. You hold. You stay in the room. And when they come back, and they will come back because the avoidant always comes back to the one person they feel safe enough to leave, you'll be there. Not resentful, not punishing, just there. Steady, like the ground, like the thing that doesn't move when the weather moves. And that's the invitation. Not to fix them, not to therapize them, not to make them into someone who loves you in the way you need to be loved in order to feel safe. The invitation is to love them in the way they can receive it. To give them what they need, which is space without punishment, closeness without demand, presence without performance. And in return, you get something no grand romantic gesture can give you. You get the truth of a person who was never taught to give it. You get the unpolished, unperformed, terrified, real love of someone who is choosing you in the only way their architecture allows. And that, my friend, is worth more than any performance. I began with anger. I'll tell you that. I began with a fuel that was all push. Push to prove, push to matter, push to make them see me. And that fuel burned hot. God, it burned hot. But it didn't last. It couldn't last. Because push is not sustainable. Push is running from something. And you can only run so long before your legs give out. And one day, I was 23, I was exhausted, and I realized the push was not love. The push was fear dressed up as ambition. And the day I stopped pushing and started being pulled by something I cared about more than my own pain, pulled by the idea that maybe I could be useful to someone. Maybe I could give people what they need instead of what I needed them to give me. That day the fuel changed. And it never ran out again, because pull is infinite. Pull is purpose. Pull is the thing that gets you out of bed when discipline can't. And I think that's what the avoidant person is teaching you if you let them. They're teaching you to be pulled by something deeper than your immediate emotional need. They're teaching you that love is not always a warm hand on your face. Sometimes love is a person trying, failing, retreating, and trying again. Sometimes love is a text that says nothing. Sometimes love is showing up to the same life, the same Tuesday, the same quiet evening, and not leaving. And you owe it to you to learn that language. Not because they're perfect, because you are. Because you deserve to be loved by someone who is trying, even if their trying looks like disappearing for 2 days and coming back with a pizza and no explanation. You deserve that. And they deserve your patience while they learn to stay. Jim Carrey once said, "I think everybody should want to be rich and famous." And then he said, "So they can see it's not the answer." And I think about that with love. I think everybody should get the love they imagined. The cinematic love. The love that looks like the movies, so they can see it's not the answer. The answer is the love that shows up in a language you didn't expect. The answer is the love that goes quiet and comes back. The answer is the love that can't say the words but drives 40 minutes to bring you soup when you're sick and leaves it at the door because knocking feels like too much. That's the answer. And if you walk away from that because it doesn't look like what you were promised, you will spend your life chasing a performance and missing the substance. The hero's journey. All of us are on it. Every single one of us. And the dragon in this chapter of your journey is not the other person. The dragon is your own pattern. The dragon is the story that says, if they go quiet, I am not enough. The dragon is the compulsion to leave before you can be left. And you slay that dragon not with a sword. You slay it with a breath. With 90 seconds of not acting. With one decision to assign a different meaning, with one choice to stay in the room when every cell in your body says leave. And when you slay that dragon, you become the hero, not of their story, of yours. And the hero's journey doesn't end when you're dead. It continues in the lives you change, in the person you chose not to walk away from, in the pattern you broke so the next generation doesn't carry it, in the quiet Tuesday evening where two imperfect people decided to stay. Quality of life is the quality of your emotions. And the quality of your emotions is not determined by what they do. It's determined by what you focus on, what you make it mean, and what you decide to do next. 3 decisions, every moment, right now. You can focus on the absence and call it rejection. Or you can focus on the presence and call it courage. You can make their silence mean you're not enough. Or you can make it mean they're terrified and trying. You can walk, or you can stay, and both choices exist. Both worlds exist. The external you can only influence. The internal you can control. And if you control what you focus on, you control your life. If you focus on what you can't control, your energy goes there, and you become a passenger in your own story. Decide. Decide what you focus on. Decide what it means. Decide what you do. And decide it now, not tomorrow, not after they text back, not after you get the reassurance you think you need. Now. In this breath. In this moment. Because this moment is the only one that's real. And you owe it to you to be the author of it instead of the victim of it. And if you suffered as a kid, if you were the one who learned too early that closeness was conditional, that love came with a countdown, that the people who held you had 1 foot toward the door, you might still carry it. You might still carry it in the way you grip your phone, in the way you rehearse conversations before you have them, in the way you scan a room for exits, in the way you love someone with one hand and keep the other hand on the doorknob just in case. And here's what happens when you meet who you are now. The adult, the one who survived, the one who built a life from nothing, the one who is sitting here listening to this and still trying, still showing up, still hoping, even though hope has cost you before. You look back at that kid, the one who was alone, the one who figured it out by themselves because no one else was going to figure it out for them. And you say, thank you. The fact that you were alone means I am self-sufficient now. The fact that no one supported you means I have no fear of working on my own. The fact that you had to read every room, every face, every shift in tone just to survive means I have an emotional intelligence most people will never develop. The fact that you learned to love from a distance means I can love someone without consuming them. Your wound was not a wound. It was a handbook of survival in disguise. And the very thing you're ashamed of, the very thing you think makes you unlovable, is the architecture of your greatest strength. You just couldn't see it from the inside. You needed time. You needed distance. You needed to survive long enough to look back and say, oh, that wasn't damage. That was training. And the person you love, the avoidant one, the one who goes quiet, they went through their own version of that. Their own childhood, their own survival handbook, their own architecture built from what was available to them when they were small and no one was coming. And they are handing you that architecture right now. They are saying, this is how I love. It's not pretty, it's not loud, it doesn't photograph well, but it's real, and it's all I've got, and you get to decide if you'll take it. Not fix it, not improve it. Take it, hold it, say, I see you. I see what this cost you. I see the kid behind the fortress, and I'm not going anywhere. From those to whom much is given, much is required. And if you have been given the love of a person who was taught that love is dangerous, you have been given something sacred. And what is required of you is not perfection. What is required of you is patience, presence, the willingness to be the steady thing in someone else's storm, the willingness to not make their fear about your worth, the willingness to let them go dark like the lighthouse and trust the beam will come back. And it will. It always comes back. Because the avoidant doesn't leave the person they feel safe with. They leave everyone else. And if they're still here in their own way, in their own quiet, stumbling, imperfect way, they're telling you something no words could say. They're telling you, you are the exception. You are the one I come back to. You are the one I let see me go dark. And that is the highest compliment their architecture can give. Again, decide now. Not tomorrow. Not when the fear passes. Not when they finally say the words in the order you need to hear them. Now. While the fear is still in your chest, while the story is still whispering, while the urge to walk is still humming in your legs, decide to stay. Decide to focus on what's true instead of what's loud. Decide to be the meaning maker of your own life. Decide that their silence is not your sentence. Decide that you are not the child anymore. You are the adult. And the adult can tolerate the dark interval between the beams. The adult can hold space for someone else's fear without making it their identity. The adult can say, I love you, and mean it, even when the other person can only say it by coming back, by showing up, by not leaving, by choosing you quietly on a Tuesday when no one is watching and there is no audience and no applause. This is your hero's journey, and the dragon is not them. The dragon is the story you've been telling yourself about what love is supposed to look like. Slay the story. Keep the person. And you will find on the other side of that choice a depth of connection you never imagined possible. Not the cinematic kind, the real kind, the kind that's been tested, the kind that survived the silence, the kind where two people looked at each other's worst architecture and said, I'll stay, not because it's easy, because it's worthwhile, because it's meaningful, because this person, this specific, flawed, terrified, beautiful person is worth the patience, is worth the 90 seconds, is worth the breath, is worth the choice to focus on what's true instead of what hurts. You owe it to you to become who you really are, not the person who walks, not the person who punishes silence with silence, not the person who makes someone else's fear into their own evidence of unworthiness. You owe it to you to be the person who stays, who holds, who breathes, who decides, and in deciding, who becomes free. Free from the pattern, free from the compulsion, free from the old story, free to love in a way that is not performance, not push, not fear dressed up as passion, but pull, purpose. The quiet, steady, unshakable choice to be here with this person. In this imperfect, unglamorous, sacred Tuesday evening life, life happens for you, not to you. And it's your job to figure it out, to figure out that the shift you saw was not the end, it was the beginning. The beginning of a love that doesn't need an audience. The beginning of a connection that survives the dark. The beginning of you finally choosing yourself by choosing to stay. This is your life. This is your moment. And the lighthouse is about to shine again. Stay for the light.